Hello, Algebra 2. This is a video key for worksheet we'll call 7.5a. It was more synthetic division. Really was a riddle worksheet. The riddle was what has 3 feet but no toes. So let's work through the synthetic division problems, starting with number 1. Number 1, we're asked to divide the trinomial x squared minus 7x minus 11. We're dividing that by our divisor of x minus 8. So synthetic division, we draw our little box over here. What goes inside our box? Well, we just set our divisor equal to 0 to find out. So if x minus 8 equals 0, add 8 to both sides, and you get x equals 8. And that's what will go right here in that box. Now let's carry down the coefficients of our trinomial. That's what we'll list here. So we have 1, negative 7, and negative 11. Those are just the coefficients of our term. Here's 1, here's negative 7, and negative 11. Draw a little division bar down here. We're going to carry our first number down of 1. And now we're going to alternate, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So we're going to multiply 8 times 1. That is 8. We add negative 7 and 8. That's just 1. 8 times 1, still 8. So negative 11 plus 8 is negative 3. So these are now the coefficients of our answer. And we're going to start 1 degree less than our original trinomial. So this was a degree 2, meaning that it started with an exponent of 2. We're going to start down here with an exponent of 1. So what we're going to get is 1x, it's going to be plus 1. When we go from just x down 1, it just becomes a constant. Okay, now this is going to be our remainder here, and we'll put that over our original divisor of x minus 8. So if we were to rewrite that, we're going to have x plus 1 minus 3 over x minus 8. That is our answer to number 1. X plus 1 minus 3 over, and that was, we're doing the riddle, that was the letter A. Number 2, we're given the trinomial x squared plus 10x plus 18, and we're asked to divide that by this binomial divisor here of x plus 5 using synthetic division. So we'll draw this little divisor box over here. What number do we put in here? Well, we have to set our divisor equal to 0 to find out. So x plus 5 equals 0. Subtracting 5 from each side, we get x equals negative 5. And that's what will go in the little divisor box here. Now we're just going to list our coefficients of our trinomial. So we'll have 1, 10, and 18. Let's draw a little division line here. We're going to carry our first term down, and then we're going to multiply, add, multiply, add. So I'm going to do first, I'm going to multiply negative 5 times 1, the negative 5 here. We add these two numbers together, so 10 plus negative 5 is a positive 5. Negative 5 times 5 is a negative 25. And now we add these together and we get negative 7. So these are the coefficients of our answer. So this will be, we're going to start with our exponent 1 degree lower. So we're going to go from x squared, we're going to go to x. That's 1x. Now plus 5. When we go 1 degree down from x to the first, we get to a constant, which means this is going to be our remainder here. So it's going to be minus 7. 7 is going to go in our numerator. What goes in our denominator is our original divisor up here, x plus 5. So our answer for number 2 is x plus 5 minus 7 over x plus 5. And for the purposes of our riddle, that corresponds to the letter I. In number 3, I'm given the polynomial x cubed plus 7x squared plus 14x plus 3. And I'm asked to divide that by x plus 2 using synthetic division. So using synthetic division, I will put my little divisor box over here. What number am I going to put in that box? Well, I have to set my divisor equal to 0 to find out. If I subtract 2 from each side, I'll get x equals negative 2. And that is what I put in my divisor box. I'm going to list my coefficients of my polynomial, 1, 7, 14, and 3. I'll list those right here, 1, 7, 14, and 3. Draw my little division line here. I'm going to carry my first term down, and then I'm going to go through alternating pattern of multiply, add, multiply, add. So I'm going to multiply what's in my divisor box times what's below my division line. So negative 2 times 1, That becomes negative 2. I write that above my division line. Add those two numbers together, and I get 5. I'm just going to keep that process going. So negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Add that column, I get 4. And negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. And I end up with negative 5. So here are my coefficients that I'm going to use in my answer. I'm going to go 1 degree less. So here is x cubed. So my first coefficient here is going to go with x squared. So I'm going to get 1x squared plus 5x plus 4. Okay. I go down descending order. So I went from x squared in my original. So my second term is going to be 1 less of x. I had x up here. So I'm going to go 1 degree less with this just a constant. That's going to make this now my remainder. So that's going to be minus 5 of a 5 in my numerator, and in my denominator, I put my original divisor of x plus 2. So there is my answer for number 3, x squared plus 5x plus 4 minus 5 over x plus 2. This is for our riddle sheet, so it matches up with an exclamation point. Here's number 4. We're given x squared minus 74, and we're asked to divide that by x minus 8 using synthetic division. So right away I have to stop because this is different than any of the synthetic division problems we've done up to this point. We're actually going to have to rewrite this, our dividend here. And we're going to have to rewrite it because it's missing our x term. So you have to rewrite it this way so that they're all accounted for. So if you were going in descending order of degrees, you got 2, 1, and 0. Okay, there's no x here, so that'd be 0. This is missing our x term, so we have to insert that into our polynomial, otherwise our division is not going to come out right. So since we don't have an x term up here, we're just going to add the coefficient of 0. This is our new trinomial that we're going to use as our dividend. So we're going to use synthetic division. So I'm going to draw my divisor box. What number goes in here? Well, I have to set my divisor equal to 0. So I'm going to add 8 to each side, and I'm going to get x equals 8. And that's going to be the number I use in the box here. Now I'm going to write my list of coefficients here. I'm going to get 1, 0, and negative 74. I have to have that 0 here again, or it's going to mess up my division. So I'm going to carry my 1 down. Now I'm going to do my multiplication and addition alternating process I've been using. So 8 times 1 is 8. 0 plus 8 is 8. Now I'm going to multiply 8 times 8 is 64. And when I add negative 74 and 64, I get negative 10. So these here are my new coefficients. I'm going to start 1 degree less than I had. So this was a degree 2. So I'm going to start with degree 1. I have 1x plus 8. That's my constant. If I'm going from a single x term down to x to the 0, that becomes my constant. That means this is going to be my remainder. I get minus 10 in my numerator, and my denominator is going to be my original divisor of x minus 8. So my answer will be x plus 8 minus 10 over x minus 8. And for purposes of our riddle, that'll match up with the letter S. Number 5, we're given the polynomial x cubed minus 13x squared plus 40x plus 18, and we're asked to divide that by x minus 7 using synthetic division. So using synthetic division, I'll put my own divisor box over here. What number goes in here? We'll have to set our divisor equal to 0 to find out. X minus 7 equals 0. If I add 7 to both sides, I will get x equals 7. That's the number that goes right here in the divisor box. Now I'm going to list my coefficients of my polynomial out here. So I'll get 1, negative 13, 40, and 18. Put down my division line, carry down my first term. I'm going to multiply 7 times 1, I get 7. Adding this column, negative 13 and 7, I get negative 6. 7 times negative 6 is negative 42. 40 plus negative 42 is negative 2. Finally, I'm going to multiply 7 times negative 2. That gives me negative 14. And when I add this column, 18 plus negative 14 is 4. So here are the coefficients of my answer. I'm going to start 1 degree lower than I was up here. This is a degree 3. So I'm going to have a degree 2 down here. So I'll have 1, x squared minus 6x minus 2. This comes my remainder here, so I'm going to add. That 4 goes in my numerator. My denominator is my original divisor, x minus 7. And there's my answer for number 5, x squared minus 6x minus 2 plus 4 over x minus 7. And if we're still playing along with the riddle, that matches up with the letter T. Number 6, we're given polynomial x squared minus 28. We're asked to divide that by x minus 5 using synthetic division. This is a lot like the problem we had in number 4, where we need to rewrite this to include our x term. Our middle x term is missing, so we're going to rewrite this to x squared plus 0x minus 28. So I haven't really changed the value of our polynomial, but I have rewritten it with a 0 coefficient, so we've included an x term. We have to have that x term or our division won't come out right. So let's go ahead and set up synthetic division. We'll start with our divisor box. What number goes in here? We have to set our divisor equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0. If I add 5 to both sides, I get x equals 5, and that's the number that goes in our box right here. Now I'm going to list our coefficients out. So I have 1, 0, and negative 28. Let's put our division line in here. Carrying the first term down below the division line. Now I go through my alternation of multiplying and adding. 5 times 1 is 5. I add 0 plus 5, I get 5. 5 times 5 is 25. When I add this column, negative 28 plus 25 is negative 3. So here are the coefficients of my answer. I'm going to start 1 degree less than I started with. This was a degree 2. So I'm going to start out with a degree 1. So that's going to be 1x to the first power. Plus 5 minus, this is my remainder, minus 3. So I put 3 in my numerator. In my denominator, I'm going to put the original divisor of x minus 5. So my answer to number 6 will be x plus 5 minus 3 over x minus 5. Or for purposes of our riddle, that matches up with the letter R. Number 7, we're given a polynomial x cubed minus 30x minus 18 minus 4x squared, and we're asked to asked to divide that by x plus 3. Well, we have to rewrite this polynomial because it's kind of jumbled up. We need it in order of descending degree, meaning if I'm starting with the third power, I have to have my second power term here, first power term here, and my constant at the end. So we need to reorganize that by writing it in descending order. So I'm going to have x cubed, then I'll have minus 4x squared, then I'll have minus 30x, and then I'll have my constant of negative 18. So I just had to rewrite that so my exponents were starting with largest and carrying down to smallest. So using synthetic division, I make my divisor box. What number goes in here? Well, I have to set my divisor equal to 0. So I have x plus 3. Subtracting 3 from each side, I will get x equals negative 3. And that is the answer, or that is the number that goes into my divisor box. I'll list my coefficients off here. I'll get 1, negative 4, negative 30, negative 18. Draw my division line. I'm going to carry the 1 down, and I'm going to start that alternating power pattern of multiply, addition. So negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. I add this column, negative 4 plus negative 3 is a negative 7. Negative 3 times negative 7 is a positive 21. So when I add negative 30 and positive 21, I get negative 9. Negative 3 times negative 9 is a positive 27. And when I add negative 18 and 27, I get a positive 9. Here are the coefficients for my answer. I'm going to start 1 degree lower than I was up here. So if I started with a degree 3, my answer is going to be in a degree 2. So there's x to the second power minus 7x minus 9. This is going to become my remainder. So plus 9, I'll put that 9 in the numerator. And my denominator is my original divisor of x plus 3. So my answer to number 7 is x squared minus 7x minus 9 plus 9 over x plus 3 for purposes of our riddle, that matches up with the letter K. Here's number 8. We're given a polynomial 8x plus x cubed minus 5x squared plus 4, and we're asked to divide that by -1 plus x. Well, just like our last problem, our polynomial is jumbled up here, so we need to write this in order of descending exponent from largest to smallest. So we're going to start with x cubed, and we'll have minus 5x squared plus 8x plus 4. Now it's in the correct order from largest exponent down to our smallest exponent, 3, 2, 1, and then 0. I'm going to divide that by here using synthetic division, so I'll make my little divisor box. What number goes in here? Well, I have to set my divisor equal to 0. So I'm going to add 1 to each side. That way my -1 and +1 cancel out, and I get x equals 1. So that's what that number 1 goes in my divisor box. I list my coefficients, 1, -5, 8, and 4. Draw my division line and carry this first term down. So I'll have 1. Now I begin that pattern of multiplication, addition, multiplication, addition. So 1 times 1 is 1. I add -5 and 1, I get -4. 1 times -4 is -4. I add 8 and -4 and I get 4. And 1 times 4 is 4. I add 4 and 4 and get 8. So here are the coefficients to my answer. I'm going to start 1 degree lower than my original polynomial. So this is a degree 3. Here's my number 3. I'm going to start with a degree 2. So I have 1x squared minus 4x plus 4. This 8 becomes my remainder. So I'll put that 8 in the numerator. And my denominator will be my original divisor. So I will get x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 8 over -1 plus x. For purposes of the riddle, that'll correspond with the letter D. Number 9, we're given the polynomial 3x to the 4th plus 15x cubed plus 18x squared minus 3x minus 6 divided by 3x plus 6. When I'm looking at this, when I see a leading coefficient that's not 1, when I have some other numbers, and I have the same thing over here in my divisor, I'm going to look at it and see, can I reduce these coefficients by any number? Is there a common factor amongst all my coefficients? 3, 15, 18, 3, 6, and there is. I can divide this entire thing by 3. So let's go ahead and rewrite that. I'm going to get x to the 4th plus 5x cubed plus 6x squared minus x minus 2, and I'm going to divide that by x plus 2. So hopefully you can see all I did was divide this first polynomial by 3 and my divisor by 3. If I have coefficients on both ends, the dividend and the divisor, that I can divide by 3, go for it. It makes it simple. So this is our new division problem right here. We're using synthetic division, so I'll draw my divisor box. What number goes in here? Well, it's whatever makes this 0. So if we were to set our divisor equal to 0, x plus 2 equals 0, x is going to equal -2. That's what makes our divisor 0, so we write that in our box. I'm going to list off our coefficients now. 1, 5, 6, -1, and -2. Let's go ahead and draw our division line. I'm going to carry the first number down, and then I'm going to start my alternating of multiplication and addition. So -2 times 1 is -2. 5 plus -2 is 3. -2 times 3 is -6. When I add those together, I get 0. -2 times 0 is 0. -1 plus 0 is -1. Finally, -2 times -1 is 2. When I add that last column together, I get 0. When I add that last column together and I get 0, that means I have no remainder. That's one takeaway I want you to get from this. Also, finding that common factor in this made our arithmetic easier because we were dealing with smaller numbers. So if we had not done that, we would have come up with numbers at the end that were all divisible by 3, and we'd have to do it at the end. But it just makes more sense to do it at the beginning, just to get our numbers smaller and keep our arithmetic simple. So anyway, these are the new coefficients of our answer. And our first term here is going to be 1 degree less than our first term here. So if we started it off with x to the 4th, Down here, we're going to have x to the third. So the x to the third plus 3x squared plus 0x. If it's 0x, we don't need to write that because 0x is 0. Finally, minus 1. And there is no remainder, so our answer is x cubed x cubed plus 3x squared minus 1. And that matches up with the letter y for our riddle. Okay, our final question on here, number 10. We're given the polynomial 10 times x to the fourth power minus 4x cubed plus 14x squared minus 14x minus 16. We're asked to divide that by the binomial 2x minus 2 using synthetic division. So again, this is a lot like our last one in number 9. When I see a leading coefficient that's not 1, I'm going to ask myself, is there a common factor that I can reduce this by? And looking at 10, negative 4, 14, negative 14, negative 16, 2, and negative 2, there is a common factor, and that common factor is 2. So let's divide all our coefficients by 2. If we do it by the dividend and the divisor, it's okay, we can do that. And it's nice that it makes smaller numbers, so when we get into our synthetic division, our arithmetic is easier. So dividing all our coefficients by 2, we'll get 5x to the fourth minus 2x cubed plus 7x squared minus 7x minus 8. We're going to divide that now by x minus 1. So all I did was divide all of our coefficients and our two constants by 2. So here is our problem. We're going to be doing by synthetic division. What goes in my divisor box over here? It's whatever sets our divisor equal to 0, and that would be when x is 1. 1 minus 1 equals 0. So we'll put that 1 in our divisor box. And we'll list our coefficients, 5, negative 2, 7, negative 7, negative 8. Start our division line, carry our first number down. Now let's begin our pattern of alternating multiplication and division. 1 times 5 is 5. Write that above our division line and add. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. And now 7 plus 3 is 10. 1 times 10 is 10. Write that here and I add this column. Negative 7 plus 10 is 3. And finally, 1 times 3 is 3. Adding that together is negative 5. I have a number in my last spot. That means I'm going to have a remainder of negative 5. So here are the coefficients for our answer. And we're going to start our first term off 1 degree lower than we had up here. So if our first term was x to the fourth up here, down here it'll be x to the third. So I'm going to have 5x to the third plus 3x squared plus 10x plus 3. Now I have my remainder. So minus 5. We'll put 5 in my numerator. My denominator is 2x minus 2. We put that over our original. So the answer is 5x cubed plus 3x squared plus 10x plus 3 minus, actually, I need to put, if I am putting my original, I'm not putting my divisor of x minus 1. If I'm putting that back in 2x minus 2, then I would actually have to multiply my numerator by 2. Sorry, caught that at the very end. So it's 5x cubed plus 3x squared plus 10x plus 3 minus 10 over 2x minus 2. If you wanted to keep it at 5 over x minus 1, I suppose you could, but our rule of thumb is that our denominator and our remainder is going to be our original divisor. So if we were multiplying the divisor we used by 2, we'd have to multiply our remainder by 2 as well. So either way, we'll get you there. But here's the answer for number 10. That corresponds with the letter C. So when you matched all the letters up back into the spaces provided on your worksheet, the answer to our riddle, what has 3 feet but no toes? The answer is a yardstick. So hopefully going through these 10 problems helped you. If you're having trouble with any of them. If you're still stuck after seeing some of these, please email me so we can work through those.